few things, Zeb, that you talked about. It's probably directly relatable to where we are, what we're doing, and why we're doing it. Um, Obviously, we're in the business of healing the land, and in order to do so, you need to, in my opinion anyway, figure out how to do that quickly and cost effectively, because both time and money is in short supply based on the macro factors that we're facing with, not only as New Zealanders but as a global population. So very quickly, this is a barefoot tree seeder. This machine has a very long history. Not the specific one, but the many like it. So this machine was imported from Australia in 2016, end of 2016-17, by the Department of Conservation. The reason DOC did it was they had a program at that stage called Conservation on Farms, and DOC was trying to figure out how to plant native forests at scale, cost effectively. The reason this technology was chosen by DOC is because DOC did quite a bit of research and found out that a non-governmental organisation in Australia called Greening Australia, that was funded up by the Australian government in the early 80s, with quite a bit of funding from the energy sector, to work on planting native trees in Australia to combat the erosion and topsoil loss, which is a big issue in Australia. Now it's becoming a bigger issue in New Zealand as well. So anyway, DOC bought one of these machines. These machines have had a gestation, research and development of about 30 years in Australia, where they started building these machines specifically for the purpose of growing native forests at large scale using direct seeding. DOC then started a series of trials over the course of 3 years, predominantly in Southland, Otago and Canterbury, and needed to start pretty much from scratch, because what works in Australia does not completely translate to New Zealand, because we, as Zeb has seen here, we have vigorous growth of weeds, which they don't really have that much in Australia. In Australia, they seed them and they walk away, whereas DOC needed to figure out how do you deal with not only the right seed, the right quantity of seed, viability of seed, but also how do you deal with really vigorous weed growth, and how do you deal with all the animals that love eating young native trees. So that was a whole series of learnings by DOC, and about 2019 I was introduced to my now business partner Tim Whitaker, who ran the DOC trials. He'd retired from DOC, and the two of us paired up and decided to carry it on. Our first year we did about 5 hectares of new native forests. Last year we did 30, and this year we are doing 50. Why are we doing this? I feel a bit like I'm preaching to the converted here. Reality is we need a lot more native forests back into our landscape, and from our point of view, you know, it's not just about ecological restoration. It's not just a climate change, carbon sequestration story. It is about a complete mindset change about, you know, what is sustainable, what have we taken from the land, what do we need to give back to the land. I have, you know, 3 young children, and I believe this is probably one of the best ways I could be spending my time. So how the criminals, very basic system. Those of you who are familiar with direct drilling, the seed goes into the top. There's different hoppers for core, the bigger seed, finer seed. We sow a basic mix of Manuka, Kainuka, Hebe, cabbage, flax, Pittosporum, and that's kind of what we call our Super 6. They're an early successional. We get vigorous growth with them, very very high germination rates, and they're up and away. Every site is kind of specific for us, so we will do kind of an additional 6 to 10 later successional seed species in there as well. Pretty much we know that the early successional stuff will get away and will be there. It's the later successional stuff that's really a work in progress for us. One of the key ones for us is totara as well, because we know that is a key forest species for the longevity of the forest. So we have totara germinating on one of our sites at the moment, and that's pretty much it. So if you want, I can take questions now, or I can just do a quick run and show you guys. We won't be putting any seed in today. It's not really planting season, so we want to be wasting any seed when it's not necessary. Yes, sir.
My immediate question is, where do you plant this in? Are you planting this on a grass paddock, or what kind of ground preparation is necessary?
Yes, yep.
That's my big question.
Yeah, so what we generally do is anywhere you can drive a 4x4, you can use this direct drill. Ground preparation, generally we will do a in late summer, depending on how high the grass growth is. You know, if it's been well grazed, for instance, we will not need to do no mowing or mulching is required. Then there's a glyphosate spray in late summer to kill down the grass competition and get the roots that's there to start breaking down. Early spring, there's as soon as there's enough regrowth, there'll be another glyphosate spray just to kill that down, and then we're in and we do the seeding.
Can farmers be using their own drill to do something? And is it cost effective to use seed in the germination you're getting versus seedling?
Yes, so our evidence is that it is definitely a lot more cost effective. You'll end up with seedlings in the ground for under $1 a seedling. The question is, can you use other direct seed drills? This cross lots seeders have been tried as part of some trials with the University of Otago, and they have not been successful to date. But so this has been specifically developed for ensuring that the seed is planted exactly where it should be.
Yeah, when you get germination and young plants, what's the care that then needs to be? What else is happening there before it's a forest?
Yeah, before it's a forest. So there is still about 2 years of release spraying of selective herbicide over that. Obviously not lying. Yeah, no, directly over them. Directly over them. Yeah, yeah. Just all that needs to happen is to keep the weed competition down, so that the young trees can thrive, grow through, and do their thing.
Is there an animal that would not damage the trees? Like do you have weekends or something like that?
Not that I know of. No, no. The good news though is, I mean, you do need a pest control plan if you're going to plant native trees, as you know. The good thing about the likes of Manuka and Kanuka as a nurse crop is that they're not highly palatable or that attractive to many of the pests that would predate them. And also because we plant at a very, very high density. If you do have some pest getting in there, then you do end up with, even if you lose a high percentage, you still end up with a forest in the end.
Thinking about things like bracken fern and gorse being a good nursery. It possibly seems counterintuitive, but is there a way to plant something with those natives that bolts ahead and actually creates a safe environment for those natives, like a bracken?
Yeah, so for us, really, that
Yeah, terrible idea in some ways, but in other ways, it
Yeah.
Yeah.
gets shaded out with natives eventually, and they don't thrive when they're shaded.
We say, setting
give it
bracken
nitrogen
to get and then plant
To create a
native.
nursery so
Yeah.
that sprays and things aren't required.
I
Because
think that's a really great idea. I think that's the way forward, actually, probably for you too. I don't know if you consider that. I wouldn't suggest bracken, but my favourite plant for that purpose of being a fast settler and then short-lived, and to provide all the shade that kills off your weeds without the need for any spraying, is the tree lupin,
Yes.
the yellow-flowered tree lupin.
yeah.
I mean, there's billions of seeds available. They're free. Sow those in the land. Not only does that shade the ground sufficiently so that
Nitrogen.
the young natives can get away, but it also attracts native birds. So
Yes.
you'll have kiraru coming in to feed on those, bringing in their own seeds.
Yep.
And you're
and
doubling.
massive nitrogen.
Yeah, I really rate
Yep.
those
Yeah.
lupin.
That way you
Thank
Other
you for that.
plants like that. And I was going to ask about poraporo. Do you include that in your That'd be a fantastic, fast
Good shader.
coverage plant that doesn't last forever, provides height and then breaks down easily and then provides mulch for your plant.
Yeah, not to date, but thank you. Yep,
Poraporo
really
is
good idea.
amazing.
All inputs greatly
I
received.
think that
Thank
what you're
you.
doing is fantastic. It absolutely needs to be done, and there are some nuances that you'll be exploring, I'm sure, that make you even more efficient and more effective.
Sure.
What was your take on that question?
On the yes, on the cover crop, yes, absolutely. So Hebe salicifolia is really one of our key ones as a cover crop. It does get away quite fast as well. We we also generally just let anything between the rows come away to kind of create a cover from wind, to prevent that. But yes, no, absolutely. We also know there's quite a bit of work being done on bracken fern. There's a company called Fern Factor that I know they do a lot of work with bracken. But yep, that definitely.
What's the distance between rows?
Generally, it's as wide as the vehicle. About 1.5 meters.